Grand Rising, everyone. This is Ron. Sunday, January 11th, a little after 11 a.m., January 11th, 2026. We are already well into the new year. So, I'm gonna do a little different today. I'm gonna wanna go ahead and turn it over to Pastor and see, because I think he mentioned yesterday, something, direction he wanted us to go in today. At least try, unless someone has something terribly urgent or pressing. I'm going to give this to Pastor. Okay.
Okay. Grand Rising, everyone. I actually spoke yesterday in reference to what Barbara was going to bring to us in regards to depression itself, based upon a video that she sent me that spoke about the spiritual meaning or the spiritual relationship between depression and some of the I hate to call them struggles, but I can't think of another word that we have encountered in our life. However, I don't see Barbara on as of yet. Therefore, I would ask if there are questions, and we'll see where we go from there. Are there any questions about anything? No questions.
Okay.
Um, then, hey Ron,
Yes, sir.
um, I Barbara may have a problem. You know, sometimes she does, but I don't know. So when she does, we'll go to her.
Yeah, I was looking for her. I was going to make sure, let you know when she does get in.
Okay.
Uh,
I want, if there are no questions until she does arrive, I want to talk about something. I want to talk about divinity, and there she is.
yeah, there she is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'll talk about um, divinity and how we can be, if we choose to be more expressive of the divine walk that has been bestowed upon us. So I'll speak to that a little bit later. Barbara, are you ready?
Good morning, Grand Rising.
Grand
I was
Rising.
trying to get on Zoom, but somehow it hasn't worked out yet. But
That's okay.
we'll keep working on it. Okay. Um, Today, what we're going to talk about is depression. Um, I believe it's relevant, and I believe it's more relevant than it's been in a very long time. Um, I want to honor all of you who are reflections of the divine and who are the divine. I want to honor all of our gods and our ancestors, and I want to honor the source of everything that is and ever shall be. And I want to gratefully appreciate the wisdom that's going to be shared, as well as the hearts and spirits that are going to be open to receive. What I'd like to do initially is just ask you generally what depression is. What have you heard depression is? What do you think depression is? And I'd like you not to try to put it in a spiritual framework, just a clinical framework. And if there are any clinicians out there, feel free to share as well. But what I want to share with you later is an Akashic expression, an Akashic understanding of what depression is. And I want to acknowledge that the content comes from this content creator whose name is Brazil, who often asks AI questions. And as Pastor and I talked about it, we talked about the fact that the AI seems to be tapping into some things, and they have not had an opportunity to change the algorithms yet. And so it really, really gives you some insight. But anyway, so let's begin, if you will, by sharing what you understand depression is, not from a spiritual perspective yet, but just in general. What have you heard? What is depression? Anyone?
A heaviness, a heaviness of darkness that overtakes you. That kind of holds you down or keep you from seeing what is available to you and makes you feel defeated.
Okay, thank you, Ron. A heaviness, a darkness. It sort of
Superman.
sits on you. It said holds you down.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I would also add sadness.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sadness. Other
Loneliness.
Yes.
loneliness.
Loneliness.
And that loneliness makes you feel how?
Lost. In a place you don't want to, you don't, oh, that's hard to describe. You don't want to interact with your family, your friends. You just, I guess, a dark place.
It's,
Right. And
I
isolation.
think it's an emotion that makes it very difficult to concentrate or to focus on anything other than what's depressing you. And it's an emotion that builds walls that separates, knowing even if you know that you need to talk to someone, you don't feel like they can do you any good, that kind of thing. I'm
And
done.
don't forget unworthiness. You feel,
You just took the word out of my mouth, Ron.
yeah.
Feel unworthy. Interesting. Okay.
But I think of it as an unworthiness that's kind of profound, that you don't really have a reason, a real reason for it.
Yeah.
You just feel it, but you can't understand it. You can't understand why you feel it, why it's so profound to you.
Exactly.
Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Exactly.
And Miss Barbara, fatigue, feeling low with lots of low energy, like you don't want to go on and live, those thoughts as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm writing this down. I'm writing this down as you talk because I'm pulling out themes that I hear. And the themes are darkness and heaviness and fatigue and ideas about self-worth and low self-worth. Ideas about feeling defeated, feeling like you're not worthy of something, whatever that something is. Difficulty concentrating, so it affects your mood, it affects your memory. It's a grief sort of thing. It's a sadness kind of thing. And I'm not talking about, often when someone transitions and that we love, that we care about, there is some degree of depression, and that's not unusual. It is a profound feeling of sadness. But generally, when we talk about depression in the long run, we're talking about a bout of time where it's 2 weeks, maybe more. It's not, I feel it today and I'm okay day after tomorrow kind of thing. Do you follow what I'm saying? Anybody follow what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes, of
Yes.
course.
Yes.
So it's not like it comes and goes. Once you begin experiencing depression, and it's over I don't want to say a prolonged time, because it doesn't even have to be a prolonged time, but after a matter of weeks and you're still in that quote unquote funk, that deepness, that darkness, that pit, that hole, that whatever, however you describe it, that cave, other ways to say that, that's one of the ways that we feel and describe depression. So the next thing I'd like to ask you, if there are no more comments about what it is what causes it. And again, I'm not talking about a spiritual perspective at this time.
Hey,
DJ,
good morning,
this
Ms.
is
Barbara.
Evelyn. I'm sorry, you.
Good morning. Grand Rising, whoever, Evelyn's yielded to someone.
George.
Oh, okay.
You can go ahead, Ms. Evelyn.
Okay. I just wanted to make a comment in grand rising and honor to the ancestors. Did you say, are you asking us, you're asking us personal definitions of being depressed?
Or what
Can
you
I-
heard,
can I-
let's say.
Okay, well, what I see and feel is the whole world is going through a depression. And everything that we all name, I believe a lot of people, the majority of the earth is going through it. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, George.
Just a question to you, Ms. Barbara, or anyone in the group. What about people who find pleasure in being depressed? I know of a individual that when they want to jumpstart their exercise or the losing of weight, they will put themselves in a depressed state to motivate them to lose weight. And that's hearing that from that person's mouth personally. So there are some cases out here where people find pleasure in being depressed. That's all.
Thank you, George. That's a different kind of approach, if you will, to depression, because that implies that I can go in and out of it at will. When we're talking about depression in general, that may not be the case. People just, for whatever reason, whatever the cause is, are able to are placed in that place, in that funk, in that deepness, in that darkness. So I'm not. I hear what you're saying, and I thank you for sharing that. But what I'd like to focus on are those times when it seemingly is not controllable, if you will, if that
Yeah.
resonates. It just is. It just bees. It just happens. So what are some reasons? George gave me one with someone who wanted to intentionally become depressed for a reason. But what are some other reasons in general that you can think of that may land somebody in that condition?
Good morning,
Being
Ms. Barbara.
Good morning.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I yield.
Oh, I just wanted to mention being overworked or a chronic illness. And it also
Okay.
could be hormonal changes as well. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. It can be physiological, is what you're saying. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, ma'am,
Who
Miss
you?
Barbara. I was just gonna say, I guess you could say some coulda, shoulda, wouldas. If you don't think you are where you should be in life with your career or some things you should be doing, that could see you kind of spiraling as well into a depressed state if you don't feel like, again, worthiness and where you think you should be within your career or within, I guess, life itself.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
I'm done. That's all I was going to say. That's just my take, or some portion of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. That kind of dresses up what parts of what unworthiness feels like. The coulda, shoulda, wouldas, oughtas kind of thing. Okay. Anyone else?
Miss Barbara,
Yes.
I was going to say that there are various reasons that could cause it. I could also argue a memory or a scent could cause somebody to go in depression if they haven't dealt with some things.
Did you say sickness, Myra?
A memory or a scent about something from the past that they have not dealt with.
Oh. Memory. Okay, gotcha, Myra. Thank you.
And another example could be when the R. Kelly documentary came out. I knew some people that had some issues. It was like triggering things that they hadn't dealt with completely. That's all I had. Over.
Okay, some trauma sort of, Myra, things that were traumatic in some kind of way. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, earlier trauma. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
gonna also say too. Trauma, various traumas.
Thank you. And obviously they are unresolved traumas if they still keep popping up, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So
Also,
anyone else? Go ahead.
also our finances.
Oh. Thank you. Finances. If we have certain expectations about finances and what they should be as opposed to where they are, kind of thing. Is that the gist of it?
Yes, because you take a person that's living from paycheck to paycheck, and if something an unexpected bill come up, the first thing you're gonna do at night is lay there and try to figure it out. Think about what I can do, how I can move this or how I can do that, and that's putting you in a state of depression right there.
Thank you, Linda. You're talking about robbing Peter to pay Paul in a sense, right? That old
Yes.
saying. Where am I going to get it from? What am I going to short myself on this month? That kind of thing. I got you. Thank you. So,
Also,
go ahead.
no, I was just going to say also what you see physically. Look at the state of the world. This is depressing. That could make you feel helpless. Your prayers and your meditations, and you pick up the paper or turn on the telly or your phone or anything, and something else has happened. Somebody's door is kicked in, or somebody else has been shot. You're just feeling overwhelmed.
Um,
Ah,
um, depression. Depression being used as a weapon to keep people from protesting, to make them feel like there's no chance of them ever getting beyond where they have been forced to be. The people whose Medicaid is gone, the people who don't have access to SNAP anymore, those who are on Social Security, and the insurance keep going up for Medicare, and medicine or rent or food, that kind of thing. So we live in a system that perpetuates every opportunity to force people into a state of depression in order to keep the system functioning the way it does. I'm done.
Thank you. So in everything that we've discussed, and you shared, let me just run down this right quick, okay? Because there are some new ones that even this late in our discussion, feelings of helplessness and hopelessness, feelings of being overwhelmed by something. So finances, heaviness, darkness sits on you. It's a defeated feeling, sadness, a loneliness, isolation, difficulty concentrating or focusing. It's a feeling that it builds walls between. It's sort of like the isolation thing. It builds walls between you and someone that you really know you want to talk to or need to talk to, but there's a wall there. You can't move. Fatigue, low energy, mood changes, being overworked are some causes. Physiological causes, maybe hormonal, or it may be some past traumas that you can't let go of. The shoulda, coulda, woulda, oughtas of the world, the things that I think I should have done, or I would have done, or I ought to have done that I have not done. At this point in my life, where should I be? As opposed, if I compare it to where I think I ought to have been, and I think about, well, I'm not where I should have been. I'm not financially at a place where I thought I would have been at this point in my life. And you let that begin to weigh on you. Can you feel the rocks, the perceived rocks and the pressure that all of this is just beating down on you and driving you into the ground feeling, the heaviness, the memories of earlier trauma. And can you feel the weightiness of that just by the words we're using?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and yeah, you guys kind of have a down kind of feeling right now, don't you? If you're truthful.
Yes.
If you're looking at it not from you, not Elohim, you Elohim, not you Elohim, but you as a person looking at it from the aspect of a person who doesn't know who they are even. But even if you do know who you are, it happens, guys. It can happen. When you take your eyes off and you take your focus off who you are, it can get in there and you can be depressed. And that is not unusual, is what I want to say to you. The issue is not staying in it and staying there. So we've summed up the low energy, feeling sad, feeling hopeless. There's one thing that no one has thought about or said, if you probably thought about it and didn't want to say it. Thoughts of harm, self-harm, or suicide. Changes in your sleep, being so irritable that nobody can say anything to you. Changes in your eating behavior. Changes in your thought processes. You lose your interest in things that gave you joy, hobbies, or activities. Just loss of interest because it's difficult to concentrate. It's difficult to make decisions. As Linda pointed out, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're trying to shift the energies from one area to the other to try to cover the deficit, if you will, like a bank account. You got more than one, and you're trying to shift money from one area to the other to cover a receipt that's coming in, an invoice, a bill that's coming in. All of this, it can feel so weighty. So what I'd like to do, that's what generally we can say. People who are depressed, those are some of the things they feel. And you can kind of picture it and understand why there's depression. not depression, but why there's the pressure to feel depressed, if that resonates. So what I'd like to do now, if there are no other comments, does anybody have any last minute comments you want to make? Because what I'd like to do now is share from a spiritual perspective the origin of depression. And this is just one spiritual perspective.
Yeah.
Comment.
Good morning, Barb.
Hello.
Yeah, good morning, Barb. This is GC. I appreciate, the approach in terms of us looking at depression just in the state in terms of, humanity and not looking at it spiritually. And just us talking, you can feel the mindset of depression.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so in our minds, we already are receiving signals in terms of just how people can paint a picture. And now, because that's what we see, we automatically navigate right into that mindset of depression. And I think your approach now spiritually, I think is timely because that's been the state, as some people say, that society has placed us in purposefully, is to have that, that mindset of depression. So I appreciate what's been said thus far. I'm done.
Thank you, George. You just stepped right into the next part of it, because everything has a vibration, guys. It has a frequency. And what we've been talking about has that vibe and that frequency of heaviness, density, of being overpowered, does it not?
Yes.
That's because we've shifted to that vibration of a more dense frequency. All right. And if we can do that, if we can do that with the words that we use, how much more powerful are words of high frequency? And that's what I want to show you. Because as Elohim, that's what we can choose to create. Even in those times when we become depressed, because I'm not saying Elohim, you can feel those things, but you also have a way out. There's always a way out. I don't want you to assume that as Elohim, you will never allow yourself to be in a place where you don't need help. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that there are ways that we can mitigate, reduce, prevent those occurrences from happening or happening as frequently. Because the more that we uncover the awareness of who we are, then we can literally change how we create our environment. Because part of depression is allowing the creation of that environment of heaviness, of moodiness, of irritability, of hopelessness by allowing those words to sit on us, sit in us, sit in our minds, repeat in our minds, and depress us. Okay, thank you. So thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for the input you've given. Now, what I'd like to do is transition, if you will. And what I'd like for you to do is not just listen to what I say, but if you feel what I say, there's a difference. I'd like for you not to just process logically, because that's what all this other stuff is. The heaviness is our trying to filter all the stuff through our minds and try to define it and put a box around it in our minds. Let that go. Let it go. Let it go. And let's just In other words, I'm asking you at this point not to do what we just did, if that resonates. Don't do what we just did. We purposely try to put things in boxes to describe a feeling and a heaviness. Let that go. Spiritual origin of depression, according to access of the Akashic records. Depression is not just a chemical imbalance or a mental health diagnosis. It's a profound soul-level signal or message that something is misaligned, pressed, or forgotten. Soul-level message. Depression invites the soul then to awaken by confronting what the mind has buried. Whatever is under there, depression says, okay, it's time for you to sit with this a minute. It is time for you to be alone and just feel this a minute, because a feeling is a vibration. Feeling is a frequency. Number 2, spiritual origin of depression. It's a disconnection from our soul purpose. Often arises when a person is living in a way that they're disconnected from their higher self, from their higher soul mission. It's a disconnection from the authenticity of who we are, who we be. The deeper self knows it's here for something more. We often talk about this. There's got to be more. This is not all of it. That's what the deeper self knows it's here for. It's here for something sacred. But the outer life that we live does not yet reflect that. Does that
Barb,
resonate?
can I ask a
Yes.
question?
Yes.
If I understood your first bullet point, what you're saying is from a spiritual level, depression is an invitation to search for who you are, what's inside of you. Am I understanding that correctly?
Exactly.
Invitation might not be the right word, but
Exactly, because as an Elohim, you get to redefine. You get to redefine what the world has told us is one thing, but you defined it as a way of an opening a door, an opportunity for self-introspection, for understanding who I be, who I am, who I really am. In other words, you don't have to attach all those descriptors we talked about when we just got started. You don't have to allow those stones and that weightiness to be all that it is. You're exactly right. The key is, okay, what do I do with this? How do I use this to my advantage? Does that resonate?
yes, it does now. Yes.
So it is an opportunity, even if you're isolated, even if you feel isolated. Well, what do we say from a spiritual perspective? Sometimes we've got to go into our own little area and just sit. As Kathy says, just sit with it. And later on in the discussion, we'll talk about what are some of the things you do as you sit with it, as you allow it to show you deeper understanding of what's going on. Why is this happening? What is it? What kind of blockage is there that I always allow this to just paralyze me? That's another word. It can just paralyze you. Is someone going to say something?
No, but I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this the same thing as the wilderness experience?
It can be. Yes, ma'am. The wilderness can be any experience that you feel like you're going through You're going, the issue is going through, not going to, but going through. There's a difference in those two things. The frequency of going through different from the frequency of going to. The vibration of going to says that I'm going to get there, and God knows what I'm going to find when I get. That's not going to. But there is a difference in going through. I am going to get through this. There may be a reason. I need to understand what this is teaching me or showing me. So I am going through this.
Barbara,
Resonate? Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Evelyn. Does it resonate?
Yes, sir. Very deeply. Thank you.
Thank you. Going to, would you say that we go to depression long before we think about getting through it? Because going to depression, as I see it, is failing to live up to the expectation that others expect of you, or failing to live up to the expectations of success, whatever that means. And usually it's based on materialism. Does that resonate?
Yes, sir. It's like you're traveling that path. You're going to that, because exactly you're trying to live up to the inauthentic you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that.
Can I ask a question?
Certainly.
Is that kind of why, like, I've heard people say this before, they fell into a state of depression, or they fell into depression, or they went into depression. Have you ever heard that before?
I have. And the very words you use and they describe, fell into, as if they fell into a hole or a cave or some place that they couldn't get out of, like Joseph had been put in that pit that he couldn't get out of, etc. So the very words we use often describe the heaviness and the density and the weightiness of what we feel. Okay, so we've talked about spiritual origins, we talked about disconnection from our purpose, and we've talked about the next thing that we need to talk about. And we can go back, guys, go back and forth between these things as you think about questions or you think about comments. The next thing, though, is depressed emotions and past life grief. I'm sorry, not depressed emotions. I'm sorry, suppressed emotions. There's a difference. Suppressed emotions and past life grief. So depression can be, depression is an energy. Everything's an energy, right? Everything's energy. Depression is a energetic result of unprocessed sadness, unprocessed grief, unprocessed rage, unprocessed trauma, all of those things that are unprocessed. You remember Charles asked the question yesterday, he was talking about the cocoon, but I don't want to get to the cocoon. I want to talk about the floods. We talked about floods yesterday. And we talked about the floods. I want to put that in the framework of suppressed emotions. It's like a flood of emotions, a flood of grief, a flood of trauma. You think of what a flood is, all of this just comes at you. Think about an avalanche, and you're on your skis and you're in the middle of it. It just comes at you like a wall to knock you down, to knock you under, to bury you. And if you're not connected, to bury you permanently, potentially. So Another origin then is suppressed emotions. And when I say past life grief, I am looking at it from the perspective that this is not the only life that many of us have lived. Now, that may be new to some of the listeners, but it's not. And those past life griefs are stamped on us, if you will, like an imprint that we carry from one to the other. And I think that this is an important concept because these past life griefs are lessons that need to be processed and learned, or we take them into the next one, if that resonates. Because as we said often, energy doesn't die. It's transformed, it's changed, but it does not die. And so what's imprinted there can be carried forward unless we deal with it through our authentic selves as Elohim. So these traumas, these past life griefs, they occur, especially when maybe in a past life where expression of these things was denied, or our survival depended on it. Think about enslaved people and what they went through, seeing what happened to their families or their wife or their children, where you had to have emotional numbness in order to just move on the next day or the next moment. The paralysis of that emotional numbness can be carried into another life. Does that resonate?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another issue is soul fatigue and density. Now, we've talked about the heaviness. We've talked about the weightiness. We've talked about the feeling of something just holding you down, the profound sadness. We've talked about that. All of those things are tied to earth density, to earth consciousness. We process those through our mind, through our earthy consciousness. There are some sensitive souls, or old souls, if you will, as well, who often become depressed because the harshness of this density and the collective amnesia is deeply painful, deeply painful. Depression can be a sign of the soul exhaustion from lifetimes of trying to bring light to dark places. Lifetimes trying to do that. In other words, then, being is just what it says, guys. It's a becoming. It's a continual thing. It's a pathway of movement on the spiritual life track of continuance from one iteration to the next. And sometimes our very souls get weary. Talk to me. I need to know what I need to know where you're vibing at.
Well, one thing you said, I guess I got kind of stuck on. I'm still thinking about it. As you mentioned previous lives. I'm trying to, it made me think about the ancestors. So we are not just freeing ourselves. This is freeing every aspect of who we are, at a deeper level than we could even know.
Because you are. you are a deeper level. We don't know yet all that we know. That resonates. You're right.
It helps. What you're saying helps us expose to ourselves not only who we are, but gives us an understanding, an idea, concept, a principle that is employed to constantly and consistently separate us from being able to embrace our divinity. Because we're trying to be two things at once. We're trying to be what society expects us to be, what our parents expect us to be. We're trying to also be who we really are. And that struggle of being who we really are versus being who we were told we are brings us to a state of depression, especially when we are making efforts to do something differently or to be proactive, and it doesn't seem to be working. This helps us to see that we, as you and Don said earlier, we fall into a state of depression as though it's not something we want, but it's something that happens because we can't find our way out in order to be who we're supposed to be. And hopefully at some point we can speak to this idea of how to walk divinely. I'm done. Thank you.
This matrix is designed to try to enhance schizophrenia in spiritual beings because of we disconnect from some degree from our spiritual aspect, our essence. And you're right, we try to be everything and anything that we've been told we ought to be. Woulda, coulda, shoulda, all the kinds of things. So this matrix is designed to spiral us, to try to spiral us into states of depression so that we don't uncover or reveal or become aware or become fully awake to the knowledge of who we really are.
Hey, Barbara?
So, yes, sir.
If we really look at the bottom line, the truth of the matter is 99 9/10% of all of our states of depression come because we are not living up to the expectation of a Neanderthal mindset.
And what a lofty goal that is, huh? So that's why, Ron, I could say that depending on how you look at it, depression can be used for our good. It puts us in a place where it causes us to begin the inner journey of introspection and understanding who we are. So just because they threw rocks at us doesn't mean that rock can't be transformed into a pebble of light.
Yeah, I like that. Never thought about depression as an opportunity, but yeah, I like that.
It can be, yes. All right, so we're still talking about origins of depression. We talked about disconnection from our soul purpose, talked about suppressed emotions and past life grief. We just talked about soul fatigue and earth density and this matrix and what this matrix is designed to try to do as it relates to just keeping our soul feeling heavy and tired. Another origin is karmic pattern breaking. Let me explain what that is. Karma is an old Indian, ancient Indian concept that refers to an action, a work, or a deed and its effect or its consequence. And if we go back to Maya, I'm sure we can even go even further than the old Indian concept. But I'm using karma because you guys probably are more aware or have heard that before, karma. And one of the laws of karma is that we are all, each of us, the sum of all of our thoughts. We're the sum of all of our feelings. We're the sum of all of our actions from this life and every life in the past. You see how the web thread is connecting? We are the sum of everything. This speaks to me even more specifically of what the Akashic record is. It's the sum of everything that we've ever thought, everything that we've ever felt, every action that we've taken. Are you following what I'm saying? So part of the argument is karmic pattern breaking. Thank you. Depression can be a symptom, can be a symptom of breaking old karmic contracts. That's just what we just talked about. The need to please, the need to be performative, the need to sacrifice, the need to stay in survival mode, the need to do this in order to keep us plugged into this matrix. That's another opportunity, if we look at it that way, for depression. Allow us to break those old karmic connections and patterns of that are not beneficial at all to Elohim, that are not indicative of who Elohim is, that do not describe in any way, shape, or form who Elohim be. That resonates.
DJ, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Pastor made the statement about us living up to the Neanderthal, standards. So, Pastor Jay, are you saying that the ancestors they were not depressed in the beginning because they knew who they were? But the moment that the Neanderthal created, that's when we started, forgetting about who we were or who we are?
Yes, and I am saying that absolutely, that we knew who we were and we walked as who we were. And yes, we were pressured to forget it. That is truly a lesson for another day, to talk about how that depression or how that forgetfulness started, who started it, and what progressed it much faster, what moves it forward rather much faster than anything else. But that's a lesson for another day. You're right. Thank you.
Can I make a second?
Yes.
I think one thing that we have to remember, when it comes to the Neanderthal, and as far as how it relates, is before Neanderthal ever got to a place of power, we were already in a state of depression. That was the only reason they were able to take control, is because we had already been conditioned and pushed into this place of depression. Because if we hadn't been in that place, things would never be the way they are. So we had already fell into a place of depression. That was why we'd already been conditioned to be in that place through all the things that had been put in place through our interaction with them. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Don. So when we're talking about the karmic pattern breaking, then, and breaking these patterns of needing to please or perform or whatever, or in these survival modes, then, as all of these identities that we thought we were, all of the definitions of how we were defined externally, all of the ways that we thought we had to feel numbness in order to just move forward, to live day to day. As these identities crumble, then depression enters. It enters. It's like a void, creating space for rebirth. You know, pastors talked about, well, you know, the system, you know, what kind of, the matrix needs to fall, everything, from religious, from every perspective. It needs to fall so that we can build anew. We can build and create and rebirth something new. That's what this is saying, that sometimes depression can put you at that place where you feel, you've used the terms unworthy, you feel crushed, you feel broken. That's another, we feel broken, something's broken, it's not right, it's not who I am. When it takes away all of these definitions of who we were told we are, creates a space. Depression says, okay, stop. It can create a space for rebirth. So, then the next question is, what's depression trying to teach us then? It teaches us to slow down and listen. It forces stillness by the very thing it is. Remember, and as I talk about depression, as I think through what we are saying and what we are discussing, I think about what was meant for our bad is meant for our good. Because as Elohim, it doesn't matter what the negative is. It doesn't matter, because once we understand who we are, it can be turned. It can be transformed for our good. So depression, even though it forces us into this cave, it forces us into this ditch, it forces us into this hole, feelings of not being worthy. It forces all of that. It forces us to be still. Think about your everyday life, going from here, there, here, there, here, there, this meeting, that meeting, this thing or that thing. Depression forces that self-isolation, if you will.
So, Barbara Jean.
Yes, sir.
We allow depression to transform us, as opposed to seeing it as an opportunity to transform us. What I mean by that is this: we allow depression to transform us into being, or making every effort to be, what is expected of us by others, or we allow depression to transform us to a space of seeking to know who we are and what needs to be dealt with so that we can get out of that hole of depression. Either way, there's a transformation taking place.
Right. And yeah, you're right. I see what you're saying now, that we can allow it to perpetuate what put us there in the first place, or we can allow it to transform and allow us to be transformed in that space. So the depression teaches that we got to feel these emotions, guys. We can't just avoid them. Whatever we're feeling, we're feeling. And that's the very nature of living in this density, this earth density, this body. But in feeling it, it forces us to come face to face with it. Because if we don't feel it, we will try to skim over it. It represses more and more the more we don't deal with it. So we got to face our emotions. We got to be honest with what they're showing us, what the emotions are saying to us. But depression says, be still. Something important is trying to reach you. Be still. Depression teaches us to feel instead of flee. That's what I said was facing our emotions and experiencing our emotions and feeling our emotions instead of pushing it back and buying into what the matrix or what this physicality has said we are. It forces us to that point where we have to be real with ourselves. It can force us there if we allow it to.
Yeah.
Because we often run from whatever causes us discomfort. We often try to breeze through it and get through it as fast as possible. But as Kathy said, the sit with it depression invites us to sit with what hurts us. But it also, at the time we're sitting with it, gives us the opportunity to offer it love instead of distraction. Offer it love instead of shame. Offer the woulda, coulda, shoulda love instead of allowing it to beat us down. Offer it love instead of feeling numbness. So, if we have all these
Question.
feelings on one hand, go.
You're saying offer it love. What do you mean by that? You mean embracing?
Yes, embrace, choose love. In
As
other words, I feel so down today, but I love myself. And I love, don't put a but in there. And I love myself. I feel distracted and I love myself. I feel unworthy and I love myself. In other words, if you start bringing and telling yourself those higher vibration and frequency feelings of love, it overcomes and overtakes all those negative or those low density vibrations of feelings of unworthiness. It's reminding you who you are in the midst of the cave experience, in the midst of the tunnel experience, in the midst of the depths of feeling that you're unworthy.
so
It
you're
reminds you.
so you're saying acknowledge the emotion, but also recognize that you're just passing through it.
Exactly. And
Is that what you mean?
you're exactly. And this is the way I feel right now, but this is not who I am. In other words, does that resonate?
Yeah.
This is
Bob,
the way I feel, but this is not who I am. Yes, sir.
I was going to raise this later, but it seems like a good space to raise this. And that is walking in divinity. So if we live our lives reminding ourselves that that's not who I am. For example, if you are angry at Trump, remind yourself Trump is not the problem. I am Elohim. Such things as this does not anger me. Or you feel overwhelmed. I am God. It is impossible for me to be overwhelmed. Teach yourself to process spiritually. Teach yourself to speak to yourself spiritually. Teach yourself to purge yourself of the mindset that we have been poisoned with for all of these years. Teach yourself that nothing is too hard for God and you are God. talking to ourselves like that gives us a deeper sense of our divinity. And when we do that, I'm not saying we are unlikely, but we are less likely to enter that pit of depression that seemingly overwhelms us because God cannot be overwhelmed. Does that resonate?
Yes, sir. You just jumped to the next section. I'm going to talk about how to spiritually overcome depression.
Okay.
And that's a big part of it.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. This is Sheldon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Of course.
The other part I was thinking about as you and Barbara were talking about, we're talking just now, was that that was explaining also the position heal thyself in terms of telling yourself that you love yourself and recognizing who you are in the midst of depression. Those things that are actually causing depression, which essentially is kind of like bad eyesight or reading the situation wrong. You're actually clearing the picture. Or if you think of entanglements within, that is untangling those things that seem to be bonds that could not be loosened before. You're greasing them and loosening them at that particular moment. As it relates to lessons also of learning who the self is and understanding the self more, that is in the midst of that process of that untangling, is in the midst of that process of, in a sense, overcoming that depression. There's a lot being gained during that period, if you will, as well. I'll finish.
Thank you. Yes. And sometimes, guys, we tell ourselves things, but if we use the higher frequency words like love and gratefulness and cherish, I cherish me. I love who the Elohim that I am. Even though you don't feel it yet, you begin to untangle those denser feelings, those negative feelings. So you've got to teach yourself to not just accept the yoke of those negative words, but on the other hand, use the higher frequency of who you know you are, and do it till you feel it. Do it till you feel it. Even though you don't do it till you feel it, because you will feel it. Because things, as Sheldon has said, are happening even though you don't necessarily, quote unquote, see it yet. Depression is designed to teach us to awaken our inner child. You know, a lot of times it's linked to silencing the inner child. You know, we were once curious, we were playful, we were authentic. That's the inner child, the authentic us, who we are, the part of us that trusted, that loved, that understood truth. That's what depression gives us the opportunity to do, to awaken that inner child. So in our isolation, in our stillness, in our silence, we can reconnect with that. And depression teaches us, stop betraying ourselves. We've already talked about this. When we live in roles, and when we live in careers, when we live in relationships that dishonor our souls, that these are all the things that are antithetical to who we are authentically, who the real Elohim is. When we live in these roles, depression is an opportunity for us to stop betraying ourselves. It shows up as it's a truth teller. Depression can be the truth teller for us. And as it's telling us the truth, it whispers, you were not meant to shrink. You were not meant to be in this, going through this way. You were not meant to be a secondary person in anything. You are Elohim. This is not who you're meant to be. That's what depression can teach us, if we allow it to. Who we were not meant to be, as opposed to who we are.
Barbara,
George?
can you hear me? Can everyone hear me?
Yes, I can.
I want to say, as you spoke of higher frequency in terms of words, we have our chakras, our energy centers in our divine bodies that helps us to be able to resonate through sound. And so I just, wanted to say that as you were speaking those words of affirmation, there's the crown chakra that vibrates at 963 hertz. And the reason why I'm mentioning the higher frequency of sound is because nature, the sun, we get our rays, we get our energies, and through sound, we have various beta rays, gamma rays, alpha rays, delta rays, but the most important thing is this is something that's freely given to us every day. And so I just wanted to say through the frequencies of these sounds, we're able to remove those negative thoughts, those negative energies by putting in positive, sound and vibration. And so I just want to just finish by saying this. When you mentioned about words, as I listen to frequencies on a level of 960 hertz, what it does for me, it helps me to understand or connect to that vibration that I know I am deserving of divine love, guidance, and support. Through the higher frequency of words and sounds, I know I am capable of expanding my perceptions and reaching my highest potential. Not what the system says, not what social media says, but what the spirit of that higher frequency of words and vibration through sound that helps me maneuver through the constant attacks that want to depress us. And I also want to I understand by letting go of old beliefs, patterns, and emotional blockages that I create space for positive change, healing, and growth. So I just wanted to add on to the fact that I appreciate the high frequency of words and how it resonates with us, but also the sounds of the energy centers that's in our bodies through our chakras. And so I wanted to share those thoughts. But I'm highly, elated to feel the love and the energy that's being transmitted at this particular time in our session. I'm done. Thank you for letting me share.
George.
Well, we are vibing right now. We are vibing right now, George, because you and Pastor already started talking about how to overcome depression, and those are the things that those are part of what we need to do. So let's just jump in it.
Hey, Barbara.
Yes, sir.
I want to ask George, that was 900 and what hertz, George?
It's 963 hertz.
Okay.
It arouses a sense of oneness and unity. But as we start with our root chakra and we travel through our chakra energy centers, there's hertz that basically connect to each chakra, and it kind of gives a little, definition in terms of what vibration or what frequency are we trying to resonate with. If that
yes.
resonates. So, but it's not, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm not saying yes, thank you. It does it resonate.
Right. That's why sound therapy works too, guys, because their frequencies for each chakra, like 532 for the heart, what George was saying, the crown chakra. But anyway, that's what words are resonant. Words resonate. So How do we spiritually overcome depression then? We have to create our own inner safety. We have to make, you know, externally there's no safety. I'm talking right now, okay? Okay. We have to create our own inner safety. Depression stems from a sense of spiritual unsafety, as if the world can't handle our truth. And the world really can't handle our truth. The matrix cannot handle our truth. So we have to understand that. So we start by making our inner world safe for all of our feelings, even the dark feelings. We create our own world. And when the external world tells us one thing, that's why we meditate. That's why we do what we do, because we create our own sacred space for our own sacred being. Pastor already talked about this. You got to talk to your soul. Talk to yourself. George just talked about it. Speak to yourself. Speak to depression, and instead of treating it as it's an enemy, ask it, what are you here to show me? What are you here to show me? Why am I going through this? What is the lesson that I need to learn? Because I want to learn it. I don't want to keep coming back in this hole. Talk to it. You can meditate. You can write things down. You can whatever works for you to get those feelings out, and start turning that depression into revelation. Then, because when you do these things, it reveals to you, okay, this is really the root of what you're feeling right now. This is really the root of why you're crying so much. This is the root of why you feel unworthy. But the root is you are not disconnected. You are always one with Source. So understand that you are never alone, that you are never by yourself, that you are never unloved. You are always loved. Talk to yourself. Next thing, honor grief rituals. Depression often holds ungrieved losses, as I said before, from this life or others. And so that's what we've been doing partially as we talk about ancestors. Light candles. And I acknowledge I'm doing this in honor of. Cry intentionally. And in other words, you know, sometimes when you feel sadness, you just crying and don't know why you're crying. Put a face on it. Put a and I don't mean a literal face, but cry intentionally. I'm crying because I feel like I'm not worth anything. I feel like nobody cares. I feel like nobody understands. But I know that there is something and someone who understands. I am Elohim. I am understood. I am loved. Cry, get it out. Let the emotions flow. It's okay. Speak to those you have lost. You know, we've talked about this. The people that we've lost, that sometimes we hold on to them anyway. Speak to them, understanding that I know you're still with me. I know that I don't see you physically, but I understand your energy just like I am, and you're just transformed into something else. I know I'm not alone. Let your spirit exhale. In other words, when you're depressed, it's like you're holding your breath, waiting for the next shoe to fall. You're waiting for the next trauma to occur. You're waiting for the next bad thing to happen. In depression, learn to breathe. Teach yourself to breathe. That's why the meditation. Breathe, breathe, breathe. And breathe until you, even if you don't understand it initially, do it until it begins to well up in you. And so that you understand that, oh, okay, that's what that's all about. Okay, now I understand why I'm holding stuff in. Okay, now I understand that all my needs are met. I don't have to hold my breath wondering where the next paycheck is coming from. Okay. I'm going to stop right now just for a second and see who that's resonating with. Because I know it is. It's resonating with me. I'm vibing.
It's resonating deep.
Yes.
We have to
Yes. Okay.
stop waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah.
Delete that from your vocabulary.
Stop holding your breath, waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah.
So, Miss Barbara, it's resonating, but what I gather, what is resonating with me is normalize those feelings. Normalize if you feel like crying, just let it out. Normalize it. And like you say, put a face on it. Normalize it. And it's almost like you can find yourself in depression. Exactly. You can find who you are, basically. And yes, in depression. But I heard Pastor say some years ago, and Pastor, feel free to interject. Years ago, when people say, because one of my friends said to me, "Oh, Jackie, I feel like I'm going back into depression." It's almost like you think about it. You have a thought. You can think about it before you get there. And kind of on the heels of what George said, it's almost, do you want to go into depression? Because you have time to think about it before you get there. So kind of, I for what you said, just all my thoughts and just from past lessons that we've discussed, you have time to think about it, but being depressed is not a bad thing. It doesn't
Because
have
you
to
can't
be.
find
Who you
I guess it depends on you, how you perceive it. Because we've all perceived it as being a bad thing. I know I have.
And I
Being
think
depressed.
at times we've all taken comfort in being there.
Yes. Because we've been conditioned to think that, right?
I'm going to say something that's antithetical. Sometimes you need a little bit of depression to slow you down and to put you into a position where you start talking to yourself and listening to self. Distraction.
BJ, this is Evelyn.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I apologize for interrupting.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, in order for what you're telling all of us or suggesting, you have to be honest with yourself. In order for this, what you're telling us to work, just be honest about it. If you're angry, if you're mad, somebody done something or said something to make you upset, just be honest with the fact that why you are depressed. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Evelyn. Because if you're not honest with yourself, those are some of the things you start suppressing. And they will come back again sooner or later. Whatever you suppress or bury will grow again unless you deal with it. So thank you for that.
Barbara, Evelyn just said something. When you're angry or when you're mad, there is a huge difference between being angry and mad. Anger is not a bad thing. It's how you approach it. Being mad signifies that you're out of your mind, that you're vicious. But anger does not necessarily mean you're being vicious at all. Madness is what happens when animals go rogue and begin to kill animals or kill people just because they're there. Anger is totally different than that. I think the energy of those two, now I know the energy of those two determines how you respond to it. Thank you.
Thank you for that reminder. Madness is the unprocessed, undealt with anger that gets buried or suppressed or comes up again as another lesson that you got to deal with sooner or later. Another way to overcome depression is reconnect to the joy through your body. How often have we talked about, as George just said as a reminder, going outside and feeling the rays of the sun? Because the rays of the sun touch our bodies, and there's a frequency in those rays. Taking your shoes off and walking in the grass, reconnecting and touching nature, walking through the forest, touching trees. Because even if you feel depressed and you do these things, you might still feel down for a while. But trust me, after a time, you begin to forget. You begin to forget some of those things that are trying to keep you down. And it's like you're embodying. It's like you're walking in the essence of I'm one with the ground. Even if you're not telling yourself that, doing it sort of like I don't know what the words are. You're emulating it even before even if you're not actually saying it. Because if you understand spiritual things, our thoughts and our words and our action are one. And so if we are not even verbalizing what we're doing, the effect is the same. I don't know if that resonates or not. But it's similar to the fake it till you make it kind of thing, but I really don't want to use the word fake it till you make it.
That really does, Barbara. I was actually going to pop on and suggest sunlight. I was reading about how the pineal gland sits in your brain midway, not almost in line with your eyes, if I'm not mistaken. And getting sunlight into your eyes is a great way to, I want to say, recharge. And that the work that you're talking about is sacred. I mean, these thoughts, these emotions, they come to our attention for correction. And we are changing the consciousness of humanity as we do this work. It's incredible, and I'm so thankful for your teaching today.
Thank you. Call on your guides. Yes, Pastor?
I have a quick comment. This is Audrey.
Oh, Audrey.
What you were talking about going outside is really important because there is also a physiological aspect to depression. In terms of how we are around when we're inside all day, breathing the same recycled air. And we've got refrigerators and computers and radios and all these machines that give off positive ions. When we take on positive ions, it creates kind of free radicals in our bodies. And free radicals are basically molecules that are not balanced. So when you go outside, and you're in nature, you're walking in the grass, whatever, you take on the energy and the negative ions that you can get from being in nature. And those negative ions help to rebalance your body. So there is a definite physiological advantage to getting into nature in terms of helping with depression and your body just being out of sync. Anyway, that's it.
Gotcha. Thank you so much. Depression disassociates us, guys. And so what Audra's talking about, the ions, also the vibrations from all of those things like your computer, they give off a frequency. For your washing machine, your refrigerator, this heavy hum. But when you're outside, and the wind touches your face, what do you feel then? What kind of vibration is that? When you touch the ground, when you touch the trees, the vibration and the frequency of that rhythm, as I think Audrey just said, helps also to sink you back into and in with your essence. It helps sink you back. Remember when we first started talking, we talked about a depression being a misalignment, something that's misaligned. All of these things help us to become aligned again with the essence of who we are. Call on your guides, whether it's your ancestors, whether it's your higher self, angels, and ask your guides, help me remember who I am. Help me feel safe enough to feel again. You are never alone in your healing. So, if I were to summarize it then, and I'm gonna actually read the summary instead of just talk. I'm gonna read the summary. Depression is not a flaw. It is a sacred invitation. Feel, to remember, to awaken. It's the soul knocking on the door of your numbness, saying, I'm still here. Let me in. You don't need to rush it. You don't need to rush through it. Depression is not the end. It's the space between what was and what will be. As Charles reminded us yesterday about the cocoon, depression is a spiritual cocoon before your next becoming.
So depression is not the enemy unless you make it your enemy.
That's right. It doesn't have to be the enemy, no. We've talked about a lot of things. You guys just might need to just feel what it is we talked about. You're not going to remember everything. That's not the point. But did it resonate? That's the thing you need. And then in your resonance, then you can ask your higher self to remind you of what specifically you need to remember that helps you from our discussion today.
It definitely resonated. Yes.
Well, thank you. With that, I'm done for today.
Thank you, Bob.
Yes, sir.
Thank you guys for your input. But I want to ask, before we are done for today, if there are questions or comments. that you may have. If not, then if you do have questions or comments between now and tomorrow evening at 6, please jot them down so you won't forget them. Thank you.
Pastor, I'd also like to remind everybody that I really would like to talk about what happens when a person takes their own life, because, you know, we talk about all of this about depression or whatever, but souls do take their own lives too, and there's a spiritual implication for that as well, and a spiritual understanding. So I'd like to also get into that as well.
Most definitely. Most definitely. Matter of fact, if there are no questions or comments as we begin tomorrow, then we can start there. However, if there are questions and comments, then we'll allow them to be a segue into that.
Fine.
Okay?
Okay.
All right. Thanks.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Before we leave, I just to say thank you again for everything that you shared, Barbara. It's given me a lot of context, and I feel normal in a way that I think I've ever felt before around this area of life.
Yeah.
So, I appreciate it. Yeah.
Refreshed. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel actually uplifted and hopeful.
Yeah.
And man, getting this into the macro is going to do some real good. So thank
Agreed.
you.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you
Well,
so much.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. This is good.
See you guys tomorrow evening.
okay.
All right. Bye.
See you
Bye.
tomorrow.
Take care, family.